Dear students, today we are going to see what do we mean by biofilms and what is the importance of biofilms in the medical field, the objectives of the class. At the end of the class, students will know basics about the biofilms, what is the quorum sensing, and what is the applied importance of biofilms, and how to prevent the biofilm formation for our safety of the patient. So, what are the biofilms? These are the community of microorganisms attached to the an inert or living surface by self-produced polymeric matrix assemblage of microbial cells associated with surface and enclosed in a matrix of primarily it is a polysaccharide material. You can see the diagrammatic representation here where there is a these are the various microorganisms and which is embedded inside the matrix. Biofilms can be produced by bacteria as well as protozoa, algae, fungi. This can produce the biofilms, and it can be multiple organisms can also be there. It is not necessarily the same species should be there. Multiple species can also be involved there. And counterpart of biofilm, that is opposite of biofilm, these are the free floating bacteria that is called as planktonic bacteria. They are the free bacteria or there is a no biofilm formation. So you can see here the structures of biofilms. So various organisms are there embedded inside the matrix. And so what are the survival advantage for the microorganisms? So resistance to the antibiotics. Nowadays we have seen that antimicrobial drug resistance has emerged. Not only antimicrobial agents but bactericidal agents as well as metals, they are also will be ineffective if there is a biofilm formation because of the embedded in the polymeric matrix, they escape from the immune mechanisms and developing the harsh environment for the host, so that host immune system will be ineffective. A cooperation between the bacterial cells for nutrients and excretion, and they coordinate themselves by communicating with neighboring cells called as quorum sensing. So it is the united effort of microorganisms for survival. So what is quorum sensing? There is a new word now arising here. So what is quorum sensing? It is a type of cellular signaling between the cells of biofilm. It is a kind of social networking in bacteria, and it is in 1970 discovered by Kenneth Nielsen and his co-workers. Bacteria in which it was reported for the first time was Vibrio fischeri. This mechanism helps bacteria to express virulence factors, communicate with other species, and collective behavior modification. So growth rate can be modified depending upon the numbers of organisms. Drug resistance can also be developed, and this signaling occurs with the help of quorum sensing. So it is a social networking of microorganisms. So it is a social life of bacterial community. A community is always stronger than an individual, and same is true for bacteria. So it is a collective effort of bacteria irrespective of the species. So many bacteria together can face harsh environment and challenges, and survival of the organism occurs. The quorum in the Latin word means the number of members of a group required to be present to transact the business legally. So that quorum sensing also occurs in the microorganisms, which gives survival benefit for the organisms. Why we should know about the biofilms as a doctor or as a clinician? Because advancement in various fields, various this my in medical field, various devices are inserted. For example, IV cannula, the catheter, urinary catheter. So many devices are inserted in the body of the patients. So these are responsible for hospital acquired infections or device associated infections, and approximately the infections are of 70% of them are of bacterial in nature. Then these the microorganisms which are there in biofilms, they also develop drug resistance because of less uptake of the antimicrobial, slow growth in the biofilm, slow growth of microorganism, and decrease in the metabolic grade of organism. That also decreases the uptake of uptake of antimicrobial drugs, and less penetration of the microorganism inside the bacterial cell. And there is also horizontal gene transfer in the bacteria. So how to control or stop the biofilm formation? Designing the surfaces to limit the bacterial adhesion. The surfaces should be designed. So these are the engineering methods where the stasis of the fluid which is there going through the tubings or those devices is limited, and the chance of microorganisms to set there and form biofilm is inhibited. Then preoperative and postoperative precautions should be taken. Coating the implants with antimicrobial medications. So those devices which are coated with antimicrobial medications. So these are some few strategies. Also, other methods are also there. We can give the conventional antibiotics, but that is the problem is that penetration of antibiotics and giving more and more antibiotics is not the way for, because again there is a problem of antimicrobial drug resistance. And another is it is not effective because there is a hypoxia. Then next is a bacteriophage therapy is there. Then third one is a quorum sensing system which is inhibited. There is another hypothetical situation where we can inhibit the quorum sensing or communication between the bacteria. Fourth one, we can use the monoclonal antibody treatment. Monoclonal antibody treatment. And fifth one is a nature products like chloroform can be used for prevention. So these are the other methods of prevention of biofilm formation. So take home messages for the students. So we should be aware about the biofilms and which are responsible for device associated infections, and therefore always we should keep in mind that the devices are not the natural thing, and always we should be ready to remove when the patient body parts are able to function independently in the natural way. We should keep in mind the drug resistance, which is very notorious problem, and therefore again the devices should be uh, properly taken care of, or minimize the device days, number of days, minimize the number of days of the devices in patients, keeping in mind the menace of biofilms. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you.